I'm here at the Blockchain Innovation Conference 2019 in Amsterdam, and I'm here with Marc Jansen, Executive Vice President of Human Resources from Rabobank.
Yeah.
You've just come fresh off the stage talking about all sorts of interesting stuff, building solution silos, alliances, creating better solutions.
Yeah.
But I want to take a step back for a second.
Okay.
Human resources plus innovation.
Yeah, fascinating, isn't it?
Is that not an oxymoron? Or?
No, well, I think look, HR's come a long way, and I think it also has to do with the space that HR's claimed, where in the past maybe have just been around administrative tasks, payroll, sickness, etc. But I think taking a more customer-focused, so a true employee-centric approach really means we also have to keep to speed with what employees are experiencing as consumers in the consumer marketplace.
But come on, we all know human resources is a department designed to protect the company.
No. I think that's wrong. I think at least where I strive for every day on a daily basis in my work is to make sure that we create the best place for people to do their best work, and that's everything from facilities. Is my chair okay and my desk okay? To really, what do I need? And that was the case today. What do I need to be able to move from job to job to job as frictionless as possible?
Okay, so that was going to be my next question. Is okay, we're talking about helping people do their work better. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
And then you talk about making sure they got the right chair, the right workspace, and then I go, okay, well, what does blockchain have to do with that? But I think you just gave a hint, is if you talk about not employees, but people who have a career that may span one or multiple companies or one or multiple roles, or I could see where blockchain might come into that. I'm assuming we're talking about things like information about who that person is, potentially what background checks they've had, what levels of security clearance they have had, what potentially right down to what clients and confidentiality agreements they've signed. Is that the direction you're looking?
That's exactly it. But basically what we say is, especially when we start looking at the financial sector, and by the way, we made this open source so everyone can use it. Basically the challenge we had is we have all bank employees now have to be screened, and that screening takes 10 days, which is 10 days that people can't work. We said, okay, if we can close that gap by doing verification by other companies who they've previously worked for, by government institutions that have people certified with specific skills, put in the blockchain, and the nice thing is it isn't just about employer to employer and making that window smaller and removing friction. What it's also about is empowering employees with their own data. Because especially in today's day and age, with not just because of AVG and GDPR, but also because what's happening with consumer data, I think it's really top of mind. And this solution really empowers employees to say, this is the information I own about myself, and this is who I am willing or not willing to share it with.
So is that true self-sovereign, or is it self-managed?
No, well, that's where I'll have to look into my technical team to help me out.
Sure.
What we basically have said is, because of questions like this, when I talked about this, everyone's first question, well, which blockchain you're going to put in?
Right.
What our blockchain innovation lab, exploration lab, and sorry guys, acceleration lab did was they actually built a universal ledger agent that makes that question no longer relevant because we're technology and specific blockchain agnostic. So the reality is, there's 5 major players in the world right now with core HR data. We're talking about the SAPs of the world, the Workdays of the world, success factors, etc. We knew that if we wanted to start conversations with them, they would also start thinking about standards, and we want to remove that conversation from the table and make this available for everyone. So I can't tell you if it's sovereign or
self-managed, because you've solved the problem.
We've solved the problem.
Wow. Okay. And then you went ahead and open sourced this just for extra levels of friction within the organization, I guess. Yeah. Well,
I don't want to take the credit for that. That was the gentlemen and ladies within the lab that did that, because ultimately that also has to do with our cooperative background as Rabobank. Because ultimately we say we want to play a role for not just our clients and potential clients and our employees. We want to play a larger role in the world because we are a global player, and that was one of the motivations behind saying, hey, look, let's get technology off the table as a friction point to having this conversation. Let's open source it.
So as a human resources person, do you get to come to many of these like deep tech blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, parity type events?
Well, the lucky thing is I'm kind of geeky myself. I won't say I'm a full-fledged nerd, but I kind of try to keep my finger on the pulse of technology. So believe it or not, on Wednesday I was actually at a robotics and AI conference presenting some use cases around how we use robotics and machine learning for human resources challenges again. So I do like to spend some time at least just to see what's happening.
All right, you got me curious. How are we using robotics and AI in human resources?
So this was 2 use cases. Robotics, we've partnered with a company out of Sweden called Furhat, which is the only, to my knowledge, the only social robot that's currently in production.
A social robot?
What
does that mean?
So what you have to imagine, everyone at home, Google Furhat, you'll see videos, but basically what you have to imagine is, let's say it's a mannequin, a mannequin head, which is a translucent plastic head where we project from the inside with a projector a face. Okay. And that face moves and its eyes blink, and we use NLP to listen to what the employee says, also because of decision trees that we've programmed, give feedback. The first use case we had was around bad news conversations. Employees don't have them very often, but they know how important it is to get it right. Yeah,
it's totally unbalanced.
Exactly.
Right? So HR gets to have, unfortunately, a lot of these conversations, and you know in advance it's coming.
Exactly.
The employee knows right at the last moment, by definition.
And at the same time, with our workforce becoming more and more mobile, so that's our client advisors who are spending more time in their car going to clients rather than waiting for them to come to the bank, they just don't have an opportunity to sit with colleagues or a manager to practice some of these conversations. So we said, hey, our innovation hub has this social robot. Can we teach it, program it, to help an employee model a conversation like that?
So, like being angry, being upset, being silent, having a shutdown, having a meltdown.
And really, God honest truth, really giving feedback in the way they respond on what you just said. So, for instance, if the manager, in this case, the financial advisor, starts going into lots of financial jargon, the robot responds, hey, I'm a human being. Do you think I really understand all this technical jargon? And they get upset. Or if they become really wordy, hey, come on, make it simple. Help me understand what you're trying to tell me.
Wow.
Yeah, so really cool stuff. It's not by no means bulletproof perfect, but that was the robotics case. We're actually working with a new version of Furhat now, which is looking at how can we use this social robot to have career development conversations with employees. Because what we noticed, a lot of employees who are ready to take the next step are a lot of times hesitant to tell their manager, hey, I'm interested in another role. Well, a robot has no bias. They don't remember who you are. We don't send that information to a manager. So just as a sparring partner around career development. Now, the machine learning. We have 1,800 plus roles within the Rabobank. People can't make heads or tails of it. Most people think of career progression as, okay, I want my boss's job. Right. Instead of looking, what am I good at and where can I add value within the organization? Up until about a week ago, our vacancy job board was really poor from a UX standpoint. People literally tell me, unless I really hate my job or I'm angry with my manager, I'm going nowhere near that job board.
Well, which makes no sense.
Exactly. So what we thought is, what if we help model the chaos that is our vacancies and all of our jobs within the organization, and say to employees, look, based on your job performance, we know who you are, we know how long you've been in this role, and based on those skills needed for that job, here's 5 jobs that are currently open today that might be a match, and by the way, you probably never would have thought about them because they're in a completely different area of the bank. Yeah,
so you might even don't even know they exist.
Exactly. So basically, we created a recommendation system like a la Netflix or an iTunes or Spotify, but for vacancies.
And based on competencies, not on what seems to be a logical step, but might not be.
Because what we actually did was, in the whole machine learning process, we read in all the vacancies for all our roles, and we allowed the algorithm to figure out what are the connections based on only skills and attitudes.
And so you're using that for internal vacancies at the moment. And do you see that going external?
Yeah, so the next step for us would be, especially because the reality of the banking sector is it is a shrinking banking sector. We've had in the past quite a few reorganizations. What we're now looking is, how can we start, especially here in the Netherlands, how can we start scraping job vacancy texts from open platforms, bringing them in-house and helping employees to the next point of work, which is actually what our whole blockchain
which can be
solution
mobility.
was about again.
It can be, hey, look, your job is coming to an end over time. You don't have to panic. And I know you guys, you already help your employees on their way out, but this is one where you can really go to another level.
Exactly.
And I can imagine also on the inbound perspective that this could really help with conversations around, for example, diversity and bias and
that absolutely, because ultimately where we want to get to as a Rabobank is that people choose to work for the Rabobank because they believe in what we stand for and what we want to accomplish, and then we help them find the right role rather than just blindly applying for roles which they think they might be a fit for.
And so if I gave you 20 seconds now to tell us or our viewers anything you want, how would you use it?
I'd use it by saying to be able to make big steps on this blockchain initiative, we need other partners than the ones we already have. We've open sourced this because we want to work together, because ultimately we want to make this available to the global workforce, and we need people who are interested and believe in this to work with us on it.
And nice and clearly in the microphone, where can these folks find out more about that if they want to get involved?
Yep, they can email me directly, Marc with a C, M-A-R-C, .h.jansen, Jansen, at rabobank.nl.
Fabulous. And I'm assuming you're based in Utrecht?
We're based at the headquarters in Utrecht.
Fabulous building.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we're pretty much done. That's fascinating. I totally didn't expect it to go that way. I'm here at the Blockchain Innovation Conference 2019 in Amsterdam, and this was Marc Jansen, Executive Vice President Human Resources, very innovative at Rabobank.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
For your time.
It was a pleasure.